This presentation is on the relationship between hate and money. My name is Jada Williams. I'm the one on the right. I thought I wanted to be a vet until the pandemic. I spent a lot of time doing self-discovery and realized that my true calling is helping as many people as possible. So this project has been in the works for about 2 years.
Class is struggling. It is going downhill. I hear it all the time.
Well, everyone tells me that I am, but I don't feel like I'm middle class because I'm barely making it.
Middle class is living comfortably and not having every week be a struggle.
I'd like to save up and buy a house one day, and haven't really been able to do that, and been kind of holding back and just trying to make rent right now.
Class in America right now means you're always in a pinch.
I really don't know what it means because I didn't know middle class still exists. I knew it was like the rich and the poor, and that's it.
Working a 40-hour week doesn't quite cover all the bills, which isn't the way it used to be in this country, but it's the way it is now.
$36,000, and we're a family of 3.
So our goal is economic equality, which is fairness in the economy, particularly in access and opportunity to wealth and income in society. The government makes the rules of the economy according to the OECD. Market economies need clear rules to function efficiently without a legal framework establishing and enforcing rights and the rules of the game where citizens, businesses, government, and civil society. Our free enterprise system could not exist. While regulation in many instances yields important public benefits, regulations are often imposed on individuals and organizations with too little thought or analysis of what is gained in comparison with the losses incurred in time, money, indecision, and productivity. According to the Federal Reserve, the majority of all the wealth in the U.S. is controlled by the top 10%. If the government is supposed to maintain economic equality by creating the rules of the game, why is more than 60% of the wealth controlled by only 10% of the nation? The Great Prosperity, when the rules are created fair. The term Great Prosperity refers to a period between 1947 and 1977 in the United States when many saw their private workforces enjoy an unprecedented increase in the standards of living. Economic gains in the country were more evenly distributed than they are in current times due to the fact that wages and overall compensation for the private sector workforce grew so fast. During the Great Prosperity, economic inequality reached its lowest point at about 9%. Wages and overall compensation increased for 2 reasons. More people completed higher education during that time, and the increase in private sector union membership rates. 1980s to present, what happens when they make the rules unfair? Starting around the 1980s, worker productivity wasn't reflected in their pay. As productivity continued to rise, worker wages stagnated. Workers' pay does not reflect the value they bring to the company. This graph shows how, as private sector union membership rates decreased, so did the middle class share of income. The Continuum of Care found that between 2007 and 2020, New York City's total homeless population increased by 55%, from about 50,000 to 80,000. Inequality pipelines. Economic inequality leads to economic insecurity, which causes both subsidized and substandard housing and homelessness. These 2 issues create low-income neighborhoods, which causes poor education and under-resourced schools. From there, it's a quick downward trend to low-paying jobs, which means they are being exploited, which means they lack a voice and representation, which causes them to become angry and unable to make smart political decisions, which causes political instability, meaning poor governance and corruption. This endangers democracy. This is one pipeline caused by economic inequality, but there is a whole sewer system of problems. So how do we replace these old, corrupted pipelines with new, better ones? There is a strong connection between income inequality and party polarization, meaning the more income inequality, the less people are willing to agree on politics because their anger causes them to trend to the extremes rather than compromise.
When we see the contrast between the values we share and the realities we live in, That is the fundamental foundation for social change.
To make sure that the government is doing what's right for all people, not just for some of the people.
An everyday Tea Partier is an American citizen that is frustrated with the direction the country's going.
This is really in the pockets of the banks.
It's a plutocracy, basically.
It's not about the money and how much money people have. It is about people not having their voices heard.
There's so many people who lost their jobs. There's so many people who lost their homes. It's just totally unfair.
So you've got a lot of people who feel like the game is stacked against them. The game is rigged. Users of rigged games can become very angry. Most people are still worried about their jobs. They are angry, they are frustrated, they're looking for people to blame.
You think the Muslims are moving in and taking over?
They were the voice of the populist outrage Sarah Palin had activated. Running stories that stoked fear and division. Black-on-black crime. Islamic terrorism. Violence by immigrants. A culture under assault.
Hispanic and black thugs tend to attack Asians because
blacks are incapable of being responsible.
White America.
Breitbart's comment sections became notorious gathering places for extreme viewpoints.
The towel heads are taking over because we let them.
Gayness is a cancer.
It reads like you've walked into a hate club gathering of some kind.
How stupid are women? Let's find out.
They were appealing to the segment of the population that are racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic.
So what can fix this rise of hate as a result of economic inequality? Well, I already told you the solutions. We need more, better, and accessible education, more labor unions, and we need to take care of the middle class. The government creates the rules of the economy, but clearly the rules are not working. We need new rules that promote a sustainable economy. I came up with this equation. A sustainable economy equals freedom plus incentive plus opportunity plus everything plus profit. Freedom is the power or right to act or speak as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Incentive is a thing that motivates or encourages one to do something. Opportunity is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. Everything means everything and everyone should be thought of, included, and treated with respect, and nothing should be destroyed by economic activity. And profit is the purpose of the economy. The name of my company is Gaea's Coop, and our goal is to turn this country of waste into a country of opportunities for change and happiness. We will accomplish this by reforming the political economy. Our only competition are unions and special interest groups because unions represent the economy and special interest groups represents politics. So in order to reform the political economy, I have an 8-step plan. Step 1 is to become my best self. I understand that if I want this company to work, I have to represent the company because it's not just about revolutionizing industries, it's about revolutionizing the world. Revolutions need leaders, so that will be me. Step 2 is volunteer at different organizations to gain connections and insight with the social sector. Step 3 is collaborate with social sectors to establish a path of change. We hope to monopolize the social sector, merge all these organizations, and make them a part of our agents of change. I believe we can make a huge difference in a short amount of time if we work together. This is a short list of organizations we hope to partner with. If we combine our resources and followers, we could become big in no time. Step 4 is post and collaborate on the internet to gain a following. Step 6, once we have established ourselves in the social sector, we can then expand to the public sector, meaning we'd look for political allies and have representatives run for office so that we have insight into what's happening in the government and have more of a direct way of changing the system by being a part of the system. We hope to partner with the government since we both represent the interests of people. We would be able to keep each other in check. We would collaborate to make better laws and even more differences independently. Step 7 is once we have political ties, the private sector will be more encouraged to join Gaea's Coop in exchange for choosing a sustainability group and paying membership fees. We provide them political representation through our connection to the public sector and economic representation through our consulting. Okay, so if I won the $2,500, I would use $500 to build my website using people from Fiverr. I would use $1,740 for our strategic and creative promotions and PR outreach, including documentaries and comics. And finally, $260 for travel costs during the summer for volunteering. And I also found a couple of grants that I would use.
Awesome. Well, let's get the judges ready to ask you questions, and maybe some of this will be clarified during your question and answering. Judges?
Hey, David, I could jump in really, really quickly just to kind of get us started. So my question is, would you consider turning this idea into a nonprofit organization?
What do you mean by that?
Well, first off, you know, I am very impressed by you being by you presenting on your own. So you should definitely give yourself a round of applause for that, because it takes a lot of strength to do that. But great idea. But I don't see the actual business in it. I don't see the business model. So but I do see the potential of it. I do see the impact, and I do see the importance. And I think what I wrote in my notes, G is Coop, and the logo is amazing. But what it sounds like to me is like you're trying to create this council, this coalition of impactful organizations that can you know, create economic opportunities for members of the community. And you're kind of trying to be like a liaison and a bridge between those people. And I think if you consider this as a nonprofit organization, you would have a lot of potential to raise money from a lot of foundations who do believe that there should be economic equality, and who would empower that movement, especially a bright young person like yourself. So I guess to rephrase my question, if you were able to not make profit from this idea, are you okay with that?
I was considering it being a nonprofit because it would give me like tax benefits and I would be able to do more, but it wouldn't, because my goal with this is to control like every industry so that there's no corruption or like people being taken advantage of. So in order to control these industries, it would be a business in itself to.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. This is a great idea.
Thank you.
I'm not actually clear what you're selling.
Okay, I am selling a service. It is to businesses, and it is to customers, and it is to workers. Unions get paid through their workers in exchange for representation. We would do that, but we would also represent the company, and we would also represent people. So because companies are usually represented by political special interest groups, they're like, what they believe in doesn't really have to align with what the workers want. And because they're separated, they don't really talk or discuss like how both their interests can like collaborate or like benefit each other. So we would be the combination between those two things.
Okay. We got about a minute and a half, Mr. Johnson.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, your service is similar to, I guess you could call it an ombudsman, or like an arbiter, right? Your role would be to bring people together to find commonality, to find solutions to problems, right? You address public sector, you address workers and unions. What is your plan to start making those connections? How do you jumpstart this process?
Well, the first step is like volunteering so that I can get into like not like social sector, like people volunteering to do good and learning like what they believe is the best way for the country to go and learning their solutions. and then I would move toward the public sector, because the social sector and like volunteer groups, they already have connections with like political groups and politics. So that would be an easy transition. And then so that our ideas could get represented in the government. And because now we have some representation in the government, so private sector, like companies, would be more interested in joining us, because they would get something out of it. They would get like some political access or money out of it or something.
Yeah, you would do really good as a nonprofit organization. I'm telling you, you could still reach your goals. Every single thing you mentioned that you want to accomplish, you can still accomplish every single one of those things. This sounds like a nonprofit organization. It sounds like a fundable nonprofit organization. You should consider that.
Thank you for that, Golden. I just want to acknowledge Jada, because your passion is definitely evident. And I just had a vision of, I would love for you to be my president.
Yes,
for sure. So don't stop. And this
that is an awesome name too. Your name is amazing.